Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to They Said What? My name is Mr. Rod, and this is the podcast where we take the loudest ideas floating around in sports, culture, business, entertainment, and everyday conversations, and we slow them way down just long enough to ask a basic question. Does that even make sense? Now, today we're going to talk about why we're losing our young people before they even find Jesus. Now, let me say this plainly. We keep looking around at our young people, and I'm talking about those 16 to 30 years of age, sitting around in church with their heads down, scrolling through their phones, completely disengaged. And without a moment's notice, without a moment's hesitation, the conclusion we jump to is they just don't care about God. Well, that's way too easy and totally unfair. Because here's the harder truth. What if they really do care? But nothing they're experiencing is giving them a real reason to seek Him. Think about that for a minute. We tell them to seek, ask, and knock, but we never stop to consider whether anything in front of them is actually worth seeking, asking about, or knocking on a particular door to find any answers. We expect hunger without creating an appetite. And that's where the disconnect starts. So let's be honest about this generation and what they're consistently dealing with. They're not empty. They're overwhelmed. They're being hit from every single direction with opinions, identity challenges, societal expectations, and the daily influx of internal and external pressures. And this is taking place every single day. Their phones aren't just distractions. Their phones are their very world. So when they walk into church and the experience feels distant, muted, repetitive, or disconnected from real life, their real life, they don't lean in. They actually check out, not because they hate God, but because nothing seemingly is helping them connect God to their life. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. We've basically conditioned this generation to scroll, to experience, and to explore. Fast content, quick answers, instant reactions. So when it comes to faith, something that requires patience, depth, and persistence, they don't naturally slow down and seek. They do what they've been conditioned to do. So if it doesn't grab them right away in a transcendent manner, they move on quick, fast, and in a hurry. So the question becomes, are we blaming them for doing exactly what the world conditioned them to do? Or are we adjusting to how we reach them? Because right now, in a lot of cases, we're expecting spiritual maturity from people we never even helped develop spiritual curiosity. And that is a mistake. You can't expect someone to chase something that they don't feel, that they don't understand, that they don't see working in a meaningful fashion in real life, in their real life. Curiosity has to come first. Connection has to come first. Otherwise, everything we're saying just sounds like noise. Now, let's take a moment to talk about what they're actually looking for, because they are out there looking. They do want something real, something tangible. These young people want to know, does this faith actually work when life falls apart? Does Jesus mean anything when I'm anxious, when I'm confused or lost? Is this something I can live, or just something I hear about on Sundays? And if those questions aren't being answered clearly and directly, they're going to go find those answers somewhere else. You can be sure of that. And the world is more than willing, ready, and able to give them those answers, whether they're right or wrong. And another hard truth is this. Young people don't want to just sit and listen anymore. They want to be involved. They want to build something. They want to contribute. They want to matter, make a difference. Because if they walk into church and feel like spectators, they'll stay disconnected. But if they feel like they have a role, a voice, a responsibility, then everything changes. Because ownership creates investment, and investment creates commitment. So let's do this. Let's address something that doesn't get said enough. We are not competing with their phones. We are competing with relevance. And what's happening in that room doesn't feel meaningful. engaging and applicable, the phone's going to win every single time. Not because it's better, but because it's giving them something they already feel a connection to. So instead of fighting the phone all the time, maybe the focus should be, how do we make the message stronger than a distraction? And here's where the church has an incredible opportunity, because this generation, they're not closed off. They're searching. They're out there searching. They're in there searching. They are questioning absolutely everything. They are trying to figure this thing out. Who they are individually in today's society. What matters to them in their current circle. What's real and within reach. That's not a weakness. That's an opening. But now, if the church doesn't step in that space with clarity, honesty, and purpose, then someone else most certainly will. So think about this. What actually ignites something in this generation of young people? It's not more talking. It's not louder preaching. It's not trying to keep up with the trends. It's basically these three things: clarity, challenge, connection. They need to understand who Jesus is and why knowing him matters right now, not later. They need to be challenged, not entertained, because frankly, entertainment is subjective. Because anything that costs nothing means nothing. And they need an honest connection, real people, real relationships, real community, because faith doesn't grow, as you know, in isolation. And here's the part we cannot ignore. We cannot keep ignoring, because if nothing changes, we're not going to lose them loudly. We're going to lose them quietly, very quietly. No arguments, no rebellion, just slow, steady disconnection until one day they're just gone. And the foundation will seem like it was never built. But it doesn't have to be that way, because when young people encounter something they consider to be real, they respond. When they see faith lived out, not just talked about, they lean in. When they feel like they matter, make a difference, they engage. And when that happens, they don't need to be forced to seek, ask, and knock. They want to. So maybe the real question isn't, why aren't young people pursuing Jesus? Maybe the real question is this: have we created an environment where they can actually find him? Because if the answer to that question changes, then absolutely everything changes. I hope you got something out of this today, because I really did. It really meant something for me to talk about this today, because I see it going on in many churches across our country. So thanks again for listening. And this has been They Said What? And we'll see you next time.